Hey guys! So, I already did an intro video, but I noticed that a lot of you were doing intro videos with some questions on the ENFJ Facebook page. So, I'm feeling very misunderstood in my ENFJ-ness right now. Kind of pissed off, actually. But I decided I'm going to express my emotions in a healthy way by answering these questions. So, here we go. Have not actually looked at them, but number one, what are the few things you wish more people knew about you? So, okay, so I'm a college student. I'm going to be a senior next year, and a lot of my peers don't know that I actually have a passion for music. I'm a journalism and sociology double major, so I'm around. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. I don't think anyone does, but I know that I'm not going to be a journalist. And so many of my peers just are so set on journalism, and I haven't really gotten a chance to get into music as much, or at least I didn't have as much time in college as I did in high school. Doing music, but ever since I was 8 years old, I was in this children's choir that sang with the symphony in my city, and yeah, like ever since then, I was trained classically. I was in continued choir in middle school, and then high school I did voice lessons too, and went to all the district choirs and all these competitions. It was basically my life, and now I used to blog about music quite a bit. I had to keep a blog for my journalism classes all last year. So sometimes I would add to that, but it kind of got to be stressful. It was like the one thing I loved, like the very first thing I was ever passionate about in music. And since it's almost like making it work took all the fun out of it, I wanted to major in it, but realized that it just wasn't really for me. But yeah, I guess that's one thing a lot of my peers don't know about, is just how obsessed I am with music. Like, I can't do anything. I can't study without listening to music. It really just affects your mood in a way that I don't think a lot of people realize. That it's like you can really put yourself in the other person's shoes, or in like the mood of whatever the music is trying to affect you. So, number two, how did you discover MBTI? So, let's see, like just 3 years ago now, one of my friends in high school was telling me that he was an INTJ, and that he was just, the rarest type ever. And I decided to go take this test myself, and I tested ENFP, I tested ENTJ, and I read the description and was like, that's not me. I knew it was close. And then my dad was like, what are you doing? And I told him I was taking this test, and he's like, oh no, you're an ENFJ. And then it turns out my dad is an ENFJ himself, and he's actually, wasn't at the time when he told me this, but he's a certified practitioner now. So it was really good that I got to kind of talk to my dad about it, and realized I wasn't the only one. I've always known that we had a lot of similarities. Like we had my mom and my sister take it too. They're both ESFJs. My mom would always say things like, oh, you and your dad just think too much. Oh, you and your dad just seems like nothing good ever happens to you. I don't know why. And you guys try so hard. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder why that is. And I know my dad would always dwell on things like me, and always think too much about the future and what people would think. So, but yeah, I definitely could tell a clear difference for being an intuitive, not a sensor, with my mom and my sister. We're all FE-doms, or dominants. So, it's definitely a very emotional household. When we'd get in fights, they would be very emotional and passionate and loud, and then like be over in a few seconds. Nobody would ever drop it, and everyone's voice was heard. Everyone was in the decision-making process, but I really liked it that way. So I guess, yeah, that was, I found out about Myers-Briggs the summer before I went to college, and I would just kind of like, I was like, cool, I'm an ENFJ, and then like every time, like every few months or so, if I would feel like misunderstood and I wanted like proof that I wasn't the only one like me, I would look up the description, and I really remember relating to something that said like that they turn to dark thoughts while alone. This is like one of like just the basic ENFJ descriptions. I didn't know about functions, and I just would read. I started just trying to read every description I could. I realized my best friend at the time was an INFP, and so then I just started. You know, it's kind of like they say, if you take a drug once, you're never going to stop. That's kind of what happened, you know. I just started getting in the really dark parts of the internet and the forums and seeing people be like, you're not an ENFP, you're a blah, blah, blah. And like everyone was like fighting, and it was great to just watch. I would just read them and think to myself what I thought and just kind of soaked it all in. I started to really get the functions. And last year, like after a year of reading, I started to kind of get the courage to comment on things in the forums and like kind of tell people like, hey, the functions are actually like this. But I was pretty nervous to do that at first because I really wanted to get a grasp of them. But I realized though that it's one thing to know them, but it's another thing to be able to talk about them and like notice them in everyday life. It's almost like I think NI like knows what the function is, but then you see it like 6 months ago, one of my friends who's an ENFP really wanted me to teach her like all I knew about Myers-Briggs. She just kind of saw it and was just so excited about it. And I was really glad that I had another friend that was excited about it like I was. So we just kind of went crazy in typing everyone. We've mellowed down a bit, but man, we went pretty crazy, and like every time we would meet someone, we'd be like, what type do you think that they are? And just like, we'd talk, it was really great because she's an ENFP, and that's completely opposite functions of an ENFJ, so we were able to talk about each different function, like how do you experience this versus this, and like, I realized a lot, and it's almost like proof that type is real. I don't just do this for fun. I actually believe in it, and I believe in the power of typology to help you with relationships. But yeah, the next question is, what aspect of being an ENFJ is the best personal definition of your individual ENFJ-ness? I guess what I would say is passion. That was always just one of my go-to descriptive words, is that I always kind of took for granted that I felt like if I would meet someone, they would just automatically see that I was sincere and genuine and passionate about what I was doing. But, yeah, I definitely am the type of person, like I fit most of the stereotypes. I would say that, you know, I've kind of, like I might dwell in NI and TI a little bit more than some ENFJs because I've gotten to be pretty introverted as I've grown up. Like I'm still definitely an extrovert with extroverted preferences, but I definitely overanalyze in the intuition and thinking. So I guess that's one way I think I stand apart from other ENFJs, but you know, I still demand affirmation. And I'll tell you one thing about ENFJs and affirmation. I realize this is at least true about me, is that I don't need affirmation because I don't know who I am. I know who I am. But how am I going to know if you know who I am, or if you like me, or if you're on the same page, if I don't know what you think of me? And that's something that I've really realized, because in relationships, I always feel like I need more affirmation than most, and it's kind of paradoxical. Like, oh, so do you just not believe that I care about you? It's like I do, but I'm reacting off of you. Like, I'm gonna need some feedback. Like, I'm not gonna just assume, like, what you think of me. And, yeah. So I guess, as a little girl, like, I used to, if, like, I would call a friend and invite them to have a sleepover. If they couldn't, I would just, like, cry. Because I would have an expectation that this is going to happen. I've always been really bad at setting expectations, too. But, yeah, I would just be so upset if I had to be alone. And if I, like, lost a friend. I've always been super, super loyal. Almost too loyal. Like, I wouldn't know when to let people go when we were just growing apart. I think right now, like, I've always been the one to initiate every friendship, every guy I've ever dated, like, every hangout almost. But it's kind of gotten to the point where people don't initiate hanging out with me because they just assume that if I wanted to, I would talk to them, which is kind of sucks because I am burnt out sometimes. Like, I am tired too. Like, I don't know. It'd be nice if other people wanted to reach out to me as much as I reach out to them. I think that's a very ENFJ thing. People kind of take it for granted. I've always really hated that. I think people just notice that I'm loving, and it's just like, oh, wow, cool. Megan will just create all the group hangouts. And sometimes I get tired. Sometimes I want to be recognized for that, or I'm not going to do it. So, and okay, the last question is, how developed do you feel you are as a person? Oh, wow, this is actually question number 4. That was part A. Part B is, what aspects of yourself are you developing right now? Okay, so honestly, I think that I'm pretty developed for a 21-year-old girl. Only because I think that I didn't have everything handed to me. I'm very lucky too. Like, I'm very, very blessed with the kind of life I was given. But in elementary school, I would have like a friend. Like, I would make a best friend and they would leave like the next year. They would always either move away or ditch me or something. And I just never had the group that I wanted. I never felt as understood as I wanted. And so I used to watch those, like, either, like, Lizzie McGuire or, like, Mary-Kate and Ashley, like, or anything with, like, a best friend. And I would, like, cry and be like, I hope I get a best friend someday. Nobody's ever going to want to be my best friend as much as I want to be theirs. And, like, I feel like I kind of, like, learned the value of what being a good friend and what being a loyal friend really is at a young age, because I know what it's like to not have that. And so I think that because of that, I'm not jaded by any means, but I think that I could be a little bit more realistic than some other ENFJs that have just had friendships come so easily to them. A lot of ENFJs are very, very popular, only because ENFJs are so good at talking to people. Like, most people, when they meet me, they love me, but it just doesn't, it's never been the case for me. I've never been, like, that popular by any means. So I think that because of that, I'm a little bit more reserved than most ENFJs too. Like, I wait, like, to put myself out there. I'll kind of put my foot in the water and see how cold it is before I put myself out there. But so I guess I think that I also have pretty developed intuition and thinking, like I mentioned earlier. I'm dating an INTP, and so my TI is always being stretched. I love sharing my opinions. I think I'm pretty opinionated too. I think a lot of ENFJs can be, but I do know some that aren't. What aspects I'm still developing is, I think that I need to just do things more. Like, I have so many good ideas, but then I don't always follow them through. And also, I don't know if any of you guys have this problem, but sometimes I get in this trap where I feel like I'm so much more developed than other people my age that I forget that I have so much more to go. Like, obviously, I'm, only 21 years old. So I have a lot more to learn. But compared to my peers who have even more to learn, which, I don't know, it's like I kind of get into a trap which limits myself. I think that's maybe one of the biggest things that I need to change is realize how much more I have to go, because you kind of set like a bar over your growth if you do that. But yeah, I think that I also just give too much of a shit what people think about me. I don't, and I do at the same time. Like, I really, really care that my inner self, my true self, is being reflected properly. But I think I need to let it go a little bit more if it's not perceived perfectly, because not everyone's going to understand me perfectly. And I hate that. Like, that's something that I want to control. I'm a pretty big controlling, like, I'm not controlling, but I have control issues. I can. Like, if there's a problem and I can't directly impact what's going to happen, like, I can kind of freak out. So yeah, that's my video. Thank you for watching.